Why some masterpieces look completely different today. Imagine standing in front of a famous masterpiece. You have seen it in books, on posters, online. You recognize the image immediately. But what if the painting you are looking at today is not exactly the painting the artist originally created? What if the colors were once brighter? What if the shadows were lighter? What if the sky was a different shade? What if details have slowly disappeared over time? The truth is that many masterpieces do not look exactly the way they looked when they left the artist's studio. Time changes art. Light changes art. Air changes art. Chemicals change art. And sometimes the people trying to protect a painting change it too. A painting may survive for hundreds of years. But survival does not mean remaining exactly the same. Every artwork is made from physical materials: pigments,
oil,
canvas,
wood,
varnish,
glue.
Each material ages differently. And sometimes, those changes can completely transform the appearance of a masterpiece. One of the biggest reasons is varnish. For centuries, artists and conservators often covered paintings with protective varnish. When it was first applied, the varnish could be clear. It could make colors appear deeper and richer. But over time, some varnishes darken. They can become yellow or brown. A painting that once looked bright may gradually become darker. Blue skies may appear greenish. White clothing may look yellow. Delicate colors may disappear beneath a warm brown surface. Visitors may believe they are seeing the artist's original intention, but they may actually be seeing centuries of aged varnish. This is why cleaning a painting can sometimes produce a shocking transformation. When conservators carefully remove a darkened varnish layer, colors that have been hidden for generations may reappear. A painting that seemed dark and mysterious can suddenly become bright and clear. The transformation can be so dramatic that people wonder whether the painting has been changed too much. But cleaning is one of the most controversial decisions in museum conservation, because the line between removing old varnish and removing original material can be extremely delicate. A tiny mistake could remove part of the artist's own paint. And once original paint is gone, it cannot truly be replaced. This is why conservators do not simply begin cleaning because a painting looks old. They study it first. They examine the surface under magnification. They test tiny areas. They analyze the materials. They try to understand which layers belong to the artist and which were added later. Only then can they decide what should be removed. And sometimes the answer is nothing. The aged surface may have become part of the artwork's present history. Another reason paintings change is light. Some pigments are more sensitive to light than others. A color that looked brilliant when the artist applied it may gradually fade. This is especially true for certain delicate pigments and dyes. The process may be incredibly slow. One day of light does almost nothing, but hundreds of years of exposure can create permanent changes. A bright red may become pale. A rich purple may weaken. A subtle detail may vanish. And unlike darkened varnish, faded color cannot simply be cleaned away. The original pigment may no longer exist in its original form. That creates a painful problem. Researchers may know that a painting once looked different, but they cannot simply repaint it to restore what has disappeared. Doing so would mean creating a new version of the artwork. So the museum must protect what remains. Modern technology is helping researchers understand these changes. Scientists can examine pigments. They can compare historical samples. They can use imaging to identify materials that are no longer visible to the human eye. Digital reconstructions can sometimes suggest how an artwork may have looked in the past. But a digital reconstruction is not the same as changing the original painting. The museum can show us what may have been lost while still preserving the object as it exists today. And there are other reasons masterpieces look different. Air pollution can affect surfaces. Smoke from candles and fireplaces once covered paintings with layers of soot. Dust can collect. Moisture can encourage chemical changes. Previous restorers may have added new paint to cover damaged areas. Some of those additions may later darken or change color. Imagine a painting damaged 200 years ago. A restorer repairs the missing area. At the time, the repair matches perfectly. But years later, the new material changes. The repaired area becomes darker. The color no longer matches. A new conservator must then decide what to do. Should the old restoration be removed? Should it remain as part of the painting's history? Once again, there is no simple answer. Some masterpieces have changed because of the pigments themselves. Certain pigments are chemically unstable. They react with air, light, or other materials in the paint. A color may gradually transform into another shade. This means that an artist may have carefully planned a composition using colors that no longer look the way they intended. The artist's original vision may now exist only partly in the painting we see. This can change how we understand art history. A dark background may not have been intended to look so dark. A pale figure may once have been surrounded by much stronger colors. A painting famous for its quiet atmosphere may originally have been more vivid. Time can create a new masterpiece from the old one. But perhaps the most surprising changes come from our own expectations. For generations, people become accustomed to the aged appearance of a famous artwork. The darkened varnish becomes familiar. The faded colors become part of the image in our minds. Then conservation reveals something different. Suddenly, people say the restored painting looks wrong. But perhaps it looks wrong only because we have become familiar with the effects of time. The controversy is not only about the painting, it is about memory. What do we believe the masterpiece should look like? The version we grew up seeing? The version recorded in old photographs? Or the version closest to what the artist originally created? These questions can divide experts and the public. Some believe restoration should bring us closer to the original appearance. Others believe that centuries of history should remain visible. Both sides are trying to protect the artwork. They simply disagree about what protection means. Perhaps that is the most important lesson. A masterpiece is not frozen in time. Even when it hangs quietly in a museum, its materials continue to age. Museums can slow the process. They can control light, temperature, humidity, pollution. They can stabilize damage. But they cannot completely stop time. Every painting carries evidence of its journey. The faded colors, the cracks, the old repairs, the yellowed varnish, the marks left by earlier generations. These changes can be frustrating, but they are also part of the artwork's survival. So the next time you stand before a famous painting, imagine another version of it. The version that once stood in the artist's studio. Fresh paint, brighter colors, clear surfaces.
No cracks.
No aged varnish. No dust from centuries. The painting you see today may be different, but it has its own remarkable story. It has survived. It has traveled through time. And every change on its surface is evidence that hundreds of years have passed. The masterpiece may no longer look exactly as it once did, but perhaps that is part of its mystery. We are not simply looking at what the artist created. We are looking at what the artist created and what time has done since. Gallery Experience: Hidden Stories Behind Art. Episode 17. Why some masterpieces look completely different today.